You were listening to a Nerd Room podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Be sure to check out more from the Star Wars Commonwealth on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Room MCU Retrospective series, an 18-month look back into the MCU, leading into a weekend of release review of Avengers Infinity War. I'm your host, Tim.
I'm Troy.
And I'm back. It's Sunjay.
And this month we're discussing Thor, starring Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tom Hiddleston, Rene Russo, Idris Elba, Stellan Skarsgård, with Anthony Hopkins and Clark Gregg, directed by Kenneth Branagh.
Well, that's a mouthful.
It was a mouthful.
Stuff.
I got this, I'm reading it here, and it's difficult to say, and I know I screwed up a couple of those names, but that's all right.
They're all Asgardian names anyway, so...
Especially Stellan Skarsgård.
That's
sounds
impressive.
Yeah,
You
right.
nailed that one.
Pretty cosmic.
It sounds like something from IKEA. Like a couch or something. Like, I'll have the Skarsgård, please.
It does. He's definitely Norwegian or
For sure.
Scandinavian, at least.
And he's in a movie about a Norse god.
How appropriate. Yes, we're back at the MCU retrospective table here, guys. And I'm excited to talk about Thor. This is something that is incredibly different than the other movies that we have reviewed. And you haven't checked those out yet, go back and check out Iron Man 2, Iron Man, and The Incredible Hulk. But we're stepping into a very different part of the MCU. When you look at it relative to what we've got now, it seems fairly grounded, fairly normal, with Guardians and Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, everything that's coming out now. This seems like a logical step. But at the time when this was coming out in 2011, and it was originally slated to come out in 2010, this was a very different movie for Marvel, and people were really worried about this. Like, if you remember back in 66, we had a cartoon. In the late 80s, we had that weird appearance of Thor in the Incredible Hulk Returns movie.
Yeah.
But when you look at Thor himself, it didn't really fit into the Iron Man Incredible Hulk world. Even the Incredible Hulk seemed somewhat grounded.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about movies in an era and a time where The Dark Knight was coming out, Iron Man, everything needed to be grounded and gritty. This is what people wanted. And now we're stepping into the mythical world of Asgard and the Norse mythology of Thor, Loki, Odin, the Bifrost, all of these abstract thoughts and concepts that had to be put onto screen and also make sense and fit within a cohesive universe. The big thing with the MCU is that they didn't have the ability to kind of spin off and do whatever they wanted. They had to fit this into something that made sense, because at this point, we're driving full head on into Avengers. They had to be able to put Thor on screen with Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America and make it believable. And that was a massive task and a massive feat that a lot of people didn't really think was going to work. But let's step back from that a little bit. And what do you guys remember about Thor? This is something that I always like to discuss before we get into the movie, because it sets us into this mind frame of what we were then compared to what we are now. Do you remember seeing Thor in theaters? I know you had a good run, Troy, of seeing these MCU movies as they came out. Is this one that you did see in theaters?
I did see it in theaters. I didn't see it opening night, but I do remember seeing this in theaters.
You
Yeah.
call yourself a fan? You didn't even see it opening night?
Yeah, not for Thor.
Give me back your Mjolnir.
Mew.
Yeah, meow.
Sanjay, did you see this opening weekend, or is this something that, like me, you really didn't get there until Captain America Avengers? Like, I know Captain America came out just a few months later, but Thor being, like I said, a different movie, was this something that intrigued you enough to get in theaters the opening weekend?
I'd like to say yes, but unfortunately no. I actually didn't see this until maybe a week before Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, Avengers was coming out, and I was like, okay, well, I got to see Thor, and I got to see Captain America First Avengers. So I picked the movies up at Blockbuster. I think was still around at the time. I'd like to say it was.
Yeah,
Might have been,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably on its last legs, yeah. They're like, just take it. So I rented that, and I rented Captain America, and I watched them that weekend, and then I saw Avengers the next weekend. So I literally only watched this movie in order to watch Avengers.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that happened with fans, with people that were coming into this, that this big event style movie was happening, and we need to understand the established characters coming into this, because I fall a little bit outside of that. This is 2011 was kind of my time to get back into comics and into comic book movies, and it was more with Captain America, but Thor had just come out not too long before that in May. And this is something I revisited on Blu-ray. I did not see this in theaters because, you know, when I think back to all this, and I know I've said this on the previous retrospective episodes, is that this just sucks up so much of my life now, and I concentrate so hard on this.
Yeah.
But I don't remember this
Right.
until really the Avengers, this whole universe.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah.
And so going back and revisiting these, like I've seen these movies tens of times, and I feel like they've always been there. But because now we go to every opening weekend, or try to at least, and when I look back and I think to myself, I didn't see this until it was on Blu-ray, which blows my mind.
Right.
I didn't go to the theaters to see these movies. So
Wow.
I never had that theater experience with Thor, with Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk. None of these
I'm
movies.
watching those after credit scenes with the audience there
Yeah.
in theaters. Yeah.
So
Crazy.
it wasn't until Captain America. I remember seeing Captain America. That was the first MCU movie I saw in theaters. And I was blown away by it. And you see the after credits scene that does have the Avengers trailer in that has Thor in it. And I thought to myself, man, I have to go see these movies.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So it struck me as strange that these weren't as big of movies. And kind of looking back in hindsight, it's interesting to see how far the MCU's come as far as the opening weekends and how hyped people are and how all of these characters have become household names, because back then they were nothing.
No, it's true.
Yeah. Would you be interested if, say, like Cineplex or something, when Avengers 3 Infinity War comes out, if they did something where they're like, okay, we're going to re-show for an entire week every MCU film from the past?
Oh, I would be.
You'd go to all of them?
Maybe not all of them.
But the ones you missed, or?
Yeah, I'd probably go back at least phase 1.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these I've seen in theaters, it depends on cost, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're charging, your $20 a head per movie,
Yeah.
probably not.
No.
But some of these I would definitely go back and revisit. And it's the ones that I didn't see in theaters that I didn't get to experience with fans. I think
Right.
like a Thor, I would probably go back and see Captain America First Avenger.
Yeah.
Definitely. And some of those are the favorites, like Winter Soldier,
Yeah, of
Guardians. I'd
course.
probably go back and revisit some of these.
Yeah.
I know a couple of years ago they did a 24-hour-ish marathon
Yeah.
leading
Yeah.
into
Ultron,
maybe Age of
I think.
Ultron.
Yeah.
And so I know people are going like, that's a bit much for me, but
Right.
this
Yeah.
idea of spraying it out over 2-3 weeks would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think theaters should do that. They should do more of that.
Yeah.
Troy, is there any, I don't know, we'll get to this later if you've missed any MCU films, but would you want to go back and watch any back in theaters that you've seen already?
For the MCU stuff? Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, hands down. Probably. Oh, I guess we'll get into it a little bit later, but there's a few I'd mention
Yeah?
for sure.
Okay,
that I go
okay.
back and see.
Yeah?
I mean, Iron Man, obviously, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down. The work is sold. Every Cap. I mean, Cap to me is still the best trilogy
Yeah.
in the MCU. So I
Can't
definitely
wait
go
to
back.
review that Cat movie next
Yeah,
time.
we'll see.
We're definitely going to get there.
We'll get there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But before we get into Captain America, we got some Thor to get through here.
Yes.
And this is a movie that spent quite a bit of time in development. It had some early iterations that Sam Raimi was looking at in the early 90s.
Interesting.
The rights were bouncing all over to different studios. Sony had picked them up in 2004. Goyer, your boy Goyer, Sunjay.
Yeah, David S.
Yeah, he was attached to write a script at one point. Guillermo del Toro was supposed to direct.
Cool.
Matthew Vaughn was attached to this at one point. And this was rattling around different studios. And as part of Marvel's real attempt to grab back their characters from studios, this ended up landing back at Marvel Studios in 2006. So not too long before it actually hit theaters. And they eventually landed on Kenneth Branagh to direct this. And it's an interesting director choice because, when you look at the story of Thor, and it really just struck me this time that it's basically the Sword and Stone. It's a really Arthurian type
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And looking at Kenneth Branagh, who has the experience with the Shakespeare, Hamlet, he played not King Arthur, what's his name? Macbeth, Henry V is what I was looking for.
Oh, yes.
So he's
Henry
done
V.
yes he's done a lot of these Shakespearean type movies, not only directed but also acted. So at the time when you look at this character, the story they put forth, it kind of makes sense Because when you look at the other directors that were originally attached, like Matthew Vaughn would have been really
Oh,
cool.
I wish.
Would have been something
I wish
different,
that
yeah.
happened.
Guillermo del Toro would have been
Yeah.
neat. As far
Yeah.
he maybe could have developed this into something a little darker.
A little bit more fantasy elements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's, as we get into this, that's what we'll see is maybe this does lack a bit more of that abstract fantasy element to it, because Asgard is the key to all of this.
Yeah.
And when we're off of Asgard in this movie, it suffers. And I think this is for the whole Thor franchise. As we go look at the movie a little more, it'd be interesting to think about how other directors could have put this to screen. And Kenneth Branagh, I think he did a good job here. But there's a lot that some of these other directors could have had. Because when you look at Thor itself, it's the only franchise, I believe, that hasn't had a director return.
Interesting. And they actually lost the director, Patty Jenkins, from the second one.
Yeah, so they've gone through a lot of developmental issues with this franchise. And I think it's difficult to translate onto screen, as well as to kind of integrate it into the wider MCU. It's not just a standalone universe that you can build around. I think integrating it now into the Guardians, something they can relate to, I think that's going to benefit it. But when you look at how this bounced around, how many directors it had, how many writers it had, you can see how hard it was to actually bring this to screen. You can appreciate now, I hope, when they come out with Ragnarok, that they found this formula, they found kind of the foundation for Thor, that they could actually plow forward with something that is a bit more cohesive and actually fits in the MCU, but also can actually do its own thing.
So yeah, just jumping in there, I would definitely say that, you got the big franchises in the MCU like Iron Man, Cap, Guardians, Thor. Thor, for me, has always been like the weak link. Like they don't have, hopefully, as you said, Ragnarok is that Winter Soldier, but they don't have that. Like Iron Man has Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
Fantastic film. Cap has Winter Soldier, Civil War. And then Thor,
Doesn't have anything.
Doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they had like, I don't know, we'll get into the first one, but yeah, it just doesn't have that like iconic film that like you can put on a shelf and, you could stand behind and be like, this is a movie. Like, this is a film. The Thor movies they're definitely like, they seem like they're like a step below in terms of quality.
That little brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That's trying to find his way.
And I mean, they got like, I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
Well, the actors that are in this, from Anthony Hopkins, Idris Elba, Hemsworth, like they're
Tom
all
Hiddleston.
great. Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
fantastic. So it has nothing to do with the acting.
What's her name? Jane Foster.
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman won an Oscar.
Yeah.
And
Not for this movie.
But it's true when you say that. They're definitely the weakest link in the MCU. Even when you relate it to the new franchises that are coming out, Doc Strange, Ant-Man, they found their own kind of niche there.
Yeah.
And Thor still struggled, even into Thor 2, to find its way. And I think that has a lot to do with the inconsistency in writing, directing, as well as what people think Thor should be. Should he be this Arthurian type character, this almost Shakespearean feel to it?
Yeah.
Or should it be, as we saw in Dark World, a Game of Thrones style of movie?
Right.
Yeah.
Or should it be something that's a bit more cosmic and out there, like we're seeing with Thor Ragnarok? So you're getting three different types of movie, three different interpretations.
Yeah. Plus the Avengers too.
Yes,
they had their own little
exactly.
spin in these little shorts.
Yeah.
At which I think they really found their Thor when these shorts we've seen since Civil War.
Oh yeah,
Right?
where was Thor? Yeah.
Where was Thor? They really found the character through those.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the inconsistencies, I think, in this character. And I think with this movie, the foundation that they were able to set, I think it was fairly solid. I think it just lacked in other things, and it lacked in having the continuity going forward into Thor: The Dark World and then eventually into Ragnarok.
Right.
Whereas when they found their footing with Iron Man, right away, they knew what they were doing. It did have some stumbling along the way. Captain America, after Winter Soldier, I think even after the first Avenger, they really had an established character, and they knew what direction to take it. And then you get to Thor, and it's kind of stumbles around here, and we're going to get into that in a lot more depth here. But first, before we get into any more talk about the film here, I just want to talk quickly about the comic books. Do you guys read any Thor comic books currently?
Well, I just finished the Unworthy Thor.
Yes,
which is awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome. And the God of Thunder run that went back with
really good.
Jason Aaron that did that. That's awesome. Yeah. And the heroic age when he's in the Avengers from back then. So that's as far as I've gone with Thor.
Yeah, and I have to, those are all kind of the same runs that I've looked at, and even into his part of the Hickman run in Avengers.
Of course,
He's awesome in that. So you hear this right now, and this is exactly what I thought was going to come out of this, is that he has very strong comic books.
Yeah.
Consistently strong, even through Marvel's kind of waxing and waning through this kind of rough evolution period, he has been strong. Even when he's unworthy Thor, the comic books have been really
better.
good.
Yeah.
They've been worthy.
Exactly. So it's interesting that we all have, or the readers of Thor have really good things to say consistently about the comic books. But my feeling is from the table already is that we acknowledge the fact that Thor is the weaker link. And so it's interesting that you have that disjointing of the comic books and the films. And we're going to kind of maybe dig into that over the next 3 movies and see where the missteps are, where the shortcomings are, and how maybe we'd like to see that evolve into something different in a phase 4 if they continue with the Thor franchise.
Yeah. Thor 4.
Thor 4. Yeah. So Thor himself in the comic books debuted in Journey to Mystery number 83. Wow. And it was a real take from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They evolved this Norse mythology into comic books. They take a lot of cues from that, a lot of with Loki, Thor, Odin. Even the stories are very, in their basic essence, they're the exact same as what we see in the Norse mythology. And a lot of that is translated directly from the comic books into this film, almost kind of word for word in some of it. And you look at the characters like Thor and Loki and Jane Foster. These are characters that have been around since the 60s. These are staples of Marvel Comics. And I think that's why it was so appropriate that this Thor movie came out alongside of Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America. Yep. They were able to put together their core Avengers and also their big pillars of the comic book universe. Even though these were considered kind of B-list characters at the time, when you're looking at them relative to X-Men or Spider-Man, these are now, or these have always been, the core of Marvel Comics. And it's really cool they're able to scratch back and pull back all of these characters into the MCU and build these individual origin stories before getting to the Avengers.
I mean, you also mentioned, putting all these core members together. We also see the first appearance of Hawkeye.
Yep.
Which was a big founding member of the Avengers.
He's kind of the second
wave that came in there, right? Because he's initially a villain for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, he is kind of in the Avengers movie.
Yeah, he did. That's interesting.
Yeah,
we'll get
right.
to that.
That's right.
It's cool that they play it that way. But using a movie to cameo a new Avenger is a really cool way. We saw that with Iron Man 2 and Black Widow. That was more of a supporting role. This is more of a cameo. Right. But they're using these movies and leveraging new characters, and that's really cool. I agree with you.
Yeah, you could definitely tell who's like the first tier characters. You know, you get your own film, and then your second tier if you just make an appearance in someone else's film before you get your team up film.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time kind of setting up the timeline for Phase 1 in Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk. And so we're not going to spend much time there because I feel like we've established that with our previous episodes. But I'll just reiterate here that Thor is happening at the exact same time as Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2. We see that in Fury's Big Week, and we see that with kind of the nods and hints and the inclusion of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson in this. Yes. We saw that with the end credit sequence in Iron Man 2, which was, again, one of my favorites. It's a scene directly out of this movie, but I like that we've established now that this timeline, this evolution of these characters is all happening more or less at the same time. I think that's a pretty cool way to kind of set the scene for Avengers going into Captain America.
Yeah, I love that. You gotta love those little Easter eggs, right? Especially, if you've been following the movies at the time to see like, hey, that scene's in this scene or this movie. It's so cool. Just some good fan service.
We're gonna have to get like a fan to do a supercut. So like one continuous movie. So like you have Iron Man 2 going on, and then Coulson's like, I gotta leave, and then that like cuts away to the Thor movie.
Machete.
Yeah.
What's that? The machete cut or whatever, where you can kind of jump around into different versions.
Oh, the order.
So, right. Yeah, you pick up. You watch Iron Man 2 up until Coulson leaves, then you watch Thor, and then you come back.
Right.
Yeah, and then you watch things.
Someone's gotta do that. I'm calling out the fans of the MCU. Some like mega fans gonna have to like make this ultimate cut from like Iron Man 1 until the end of Avengers.
Start shopping.
Yeah.
It'll take you a while. All right, so we came off the success of Iron Man and Iron Man 2. And Thor and Captain America were the next movies up in 2011. We had one movie in 2010. And like I said before, this is a big risk compared to Iron Man 2. Like Iron Man itself was a big risk, but coming off an established character in Iron Man 2, we're jumping into new territory here. And this movie was fairly well received for the time. It didn't do gangbusters at the box office. It made $65 million in its opening weekend, and it came to a total domestic haul of $181 million and a worldwide cume of $450 million. So this puts us at the bottom end of the MCU movies when you compare it to what we're getting now. And even in the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, these type of movies, far exceed this. But this is at a time, again, 2011, when comic book movies weren't what they are today. This was enough to establish this as a franchise, as well as fully integrate him into the Avengers world. And one thing I just wanted to get your opinions on here is, what do you think would happen if Thor had bombed? If this did no money, this didn't make its budget back, nothing. We had already committed, or they had already committed to Avengers. But what happens to this franchise after Avengers if this film bombs? Would we have seen another Thor, or do you think they would have gone a different direction?
That's a good question. I think we would have been okay. Would have they scrapped it? I don't know. But I mean, really, you would have had Joss Whedon still take on Thor in Avengers, and he knocked it out of the park. Like the moments between Thor and Hulk are some of the best in that movie. So that would have been good. We probably would have still ended up with Tahiki. Is it Tahiki or Tahika? Taika, the director. I think we were still ended up with somebody kind of going that route with the character. You could have just skipped Thor 2, except for the actual story building of the universe. You got to have that somewhere. But we could have gone a one and done with Thor and been okay, and just had him in the Avengers films, much like Hulk.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Hulk, though, I think there's some like Paramount issues with distributing rights.
It's Universal, yeah.
Oh, Universal, yeah. Sorry, Paramount. But I think with Thor, I think they would have tried again, because Avengers was such a mega hit that I think they would have been like, okay, well, this is piggybacking off the success of the Avengers. Maybe it'll get an Avengers bump and, do better. And then if it didn't the second time around, then I think they would have completely scrapped. You wouldn't be getting Thor Ragnarok. Thor would just be like a Hawkeye a Black Widow character
that shows up in Avengers.
Maybe like shows up in other people's movies like Iron Man now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the direction they would have went. They kind of would have used him as a Hulk.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he shows up in team up movies, and you don't really need to establish Asgard. You just need to establish the fact that he comes down every once in a while to help out Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think they would have really missed out on something here, because Asgard is an important piece of the MCU, and I think integrating it into the greater cosmos like they're doing in Thor Ragnarok is going to make it an even bigger part of the whole universe itself, because I think we're going more in that direction. It's more off-world, more off of Earth, and I think this film would have benefited from that, from taking us off Earth and doing a pure Asgard movie, and we're going to get into that as we get into the film here. All right, guys, well, we've established ourselves here with Thor, with the comic books, with how this was developed. I think it's time to get into our full review of this movie. This is, for me, I really liked the idea of how this film opened. We opened with 3 minutes on Earth, and then we go straight to Asgard. We establish ourselves and our few characters that we do have on Earth. We get a reference point on Earth. While we're on Earth here, we do spend a very brief few minutes trying to scientifically explain some of the more abstract concepts that we're going to get in this film. And they try to do this throughout the film. I don't know if this is an attempt to ground it a little bit, but I think it's okay what they do here, this whole science is magic type thing. I like how they establish this kind of right early on. We're going to try to science this up a bit, but we're going to immediately pull you out of that and sling you right into Asgard. And we get something a bit different here. We kind of skip back in Asgard time, and they do a lot of exposition here while also showing you these big battles. And from a perspective of the MCU movies that we've seen right away that are more confined, condensed stories, this opens up to a massive world right away. This kind of throws us in your face. We get very Lord of the Rings-esque fighting here, and we get the establishment of a long history of Asgard and its relationship to Earth, and its relationship as far as the Norse mythology. I like how they tied all of this in as these gods and legends, and everything's kind of faded to the background as we've modernized through time. And I think it's cool that they've pulled that through. And one thing that this whole opening sequence does, not only does it establish Odin, it also establishes kind of the cosmic order and establishes one of our main villains here in the Frost Giants. It kind of explains a bit of what we're going to see later on in the movie. So right off the bat here, we get thrown into the deep end of Asgard. Did you guys find yourselves kind of drowning in all of this exposition, in these big fights, or did you find this kind of more engaging because they're getting right into it? They're not wasting time trying to describe everything that's going on Earth. They just kind of throw you into Asgard here.
Yeah, I like this part a lot. This is actually some of my favorite parts of the movie. When we dive right into Asgard, we get these, like you said, Lord of the Rings, like big battles going on. You got the Frost Giants. It's very dark, but I guess it helps the CGI budget a
Yeah.
little bit there. So, but yeah, no, I really like this. I actually wish they went a step further and kind of continued with like the Loki and Thor story, much like the comic book when it establishes the relationship as brothers, kind of growing up. I wish we got a little bit more of that origin, but for the most part, I'm really invested in the film at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And the one thing I really liked, I mean, I ragged on the previous MCU films for this, but I thought the score was fantastic.
I get it
Yeah,
right here.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I couldn't,
Thor's coronation?
yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell like if it was because that main score is the main title music for the DVD of the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I just have had that on in the background over the last couple of weeks, but I really like this score here.
Very well done.
Yeah,
It is.
and when I hear that, I think of Thor. Now, it's not used, I don't think, in anything else. It's really an Asgardian score.
Yeah.
The theme for Asgard you get in there. It's, really well done.
Yeah, I mean, that's my favorite one of the MCU so far.
Yeah, what we've covered so far, it's the best score.
Absolutely, yeah.
What did you guys think of the look of Asgard? I know you alluded here to some shaky CGI, but they really go grand with this. Like I said before, we looked at previous movies that are much smaller in scale and don't require this massive amount of CGI. But they really want to show off Asgard here as this big, giant landscapes with huge stretching towers and buildings.
Rainbow bridges.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some rainbow bridges. What are you guys' thoughts on how this kind of came across on screen?
Yeah, I thought the look of Asgard was pretty cool. Seeing all the as you said, like the different buildings, and it looked very mythical to me. The one thing I will kind of like nitpick on was like some of the costumes. Like I really thought that Heimdall's costume felt like something out of a Power Rangers movie. Like everything else, like Thor's costume's amazing. Loki's costume is pretty good. Odin's looks pretty good as well. But yeah, like Heimdall's, for me, I was just like, that one was like, he looked like the little like gold guy from Power Rangers.
Goldor.
Yeah, Goldor.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so Asgard, when I saw it in theaters, I thought this looked great. I thought it looked awesome.
Yeah.
It hasn't aged very well.
No.
And for being the god of thunder, the thunder sucks in this movie. Like, the lightning is... Every time I saw the lightning, like, I'm not even joking, I thought of Mortal Kombat 2 with Raiden. It's pretty bad. It's extremely bad. The costumes, I don't like the costumes at all in this movie. I really feel like going into part 2 and going into Avengers, they really get a lock on the costumes. They're so much better because here, yeah, it's very Power Rangers like Goldor. It's big, it's heavy.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Anthony Hopkins' armor works for me. Everybody else doesn't look that good.
Really?
at
You
all.
didn't
Yeah.
like Thor or his like 4 merry men and Lady Sif?
No, I mean, well, we see him with the helmet for the first time and the last
All the
time,
time.
until
Yeah.
until Ragnarok, which is cool. Loki's helmet always looks ridiculous in the comics as it is.
I think it looks
Yeah.
good on here.
But I really like what they did now going into Ragnarok with the whole agent of Asgard look. Like they pulled that off, but it's kind of silly. Some of these costumes for me.
It's a pretty silly concept, I guess, if you like step back and really like think of the film as a whole. You got
Yeah.
like these like gods and like Thor's helmet, like that's iconic, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't read a lot of Thor, but the one thing I do know is his look with like the wings on like
Yep.
the side.
Yeah.
And for them to not put it in, like I don't know, like they can do it. Like you look at what we have now, maybe we take it for granted because like we've come so far. But if you look at Deadpool, like a movie like in 2011, Deadpool, his costume wouldn't look nearly as good as it looks. Like comic accurate, screen tested, amazing.
yeah.
And you can't give me Thor's helmet?
But it's kind of a tough look to pull off. Like I said, like I think in Ragnarok right now they got it. Like the costume looks great. The helmet looks really cool.
Yeah.
But I think this movie just wanted to show you, like, look, we have the helmet, but we're gonna show off Chris Hemsworth's Goldilocks.
It's pretty
we're not
dreamy,
gonna.
so.
He's
The
jacked.
one scene with the hammer, you see his biceps, I was like, oh my goodness, that's gotta be at least like 17, 18 inches.
Yeah, so they spent a lot of time trying to translate a lot we saw in the comics
Yes.
into film, and like with the Rainbow Bridge,
Yeah.
that looked all right.
It did actually. That actually worked for me. That
It's
have you
kind of
just-
like Mario Kart.
Yeah, have you
Yes.
ever seen the Rainbow Bridge in the comic books? It's literally a rainbow bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it's be glad they didn't put that on screen.
Yeah.
But I'll give a little break to the CGI
Yeah.
of the time. Like they tried, I think, here to put something to screen that was a lot grander maybe than they could have. Like
Yeah.
even in Thor: The Dark World, it's a lot of sets.
Yeah.
You don't see this grand wide-spanning big shots of Asgard, and maybe that's why you
Yeah.
get some of that. But I feel like they spent a lot of time in the early part here just panning around Asgard, showing you the big waterfalls and the towers and all this.
Yeah.
And coming to the costumes here, like the whole idea of translating this Norse mythology into the MCU is a difficult task.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys that some of it looks goofy here, and they call it out in the film.
Yeah.
Right? They talk about the Renaissance fair and how ridiculous these costumes look and all this. And they've evolved past this, I think. Like, it almost, like, some of it almost looks like that whole, you've taken Shakespearean actors and pulled them out of there and put them into the modern world and asked them to walk around. Like, it looks a bit ridiculous. And so I think when they fix the cape, it doesn't have like the big shoulders anymore. And
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Odin
Yeah.
looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the character of Odin himself, like he
Fantastic.
he gets a lot of introduction here in the early part of the movie. Anthony Hopkins, he absolutely kills it here.
Kills it.
I love this character. His voiceovers are used in a lot of trailers for Infinity War and all that still.
Yeah.
And his look is great. They kind of give him the origin of why his eyes kind of dropped out.
Right.
He looks awesome.
Which is why I have to credit Chris Hemsworth so much, because for him holding his own against Anthony
Yeah.
Hopkins, and this has been his first big standalone since really Star Trek, which wasn't really his film, but remember he was in Star Trek as the father there, right? So to see him now become Thor and go toe to toe with Anthony Hopkins on an acting level is incredible. Like Chris Hemsworth is great. in
Most
this movie.
impressive, yeah.
Most impressive, yes.
Yes, and we get the introduction here too of Odin's Vault. This has become kind of one of those Easter egg filled parts of the MCU. And, you know, in here, the Infinity Gauntlet's in here.
Yes.
You got the Casket of Ancient Winners. There's all sorts of old relics that lie in this vault. Something that fans have gone through slow motion here and looked and picked at everything. And it's cool that they've kind of thrown these Easter eggs. I think they kind of regret a bit throwing the Infinity Gauntlet in there. It's confusing now because it's the wrong hand. And anyways, it's really good to establish a lot early on here. Like, I've never really felt overwhelmed by what I'm seeing on screen. I kind of get what they're getting at here. And even with Anthony Hopkins here, I like this scene with the younger kids.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it immediately establishes who each individual character is. These kids are great little actors. I'm sure they're much older now, but they kind of pit them against each other right away. And it's the subtleties of Tom Hiddleston you can see in this kid, and that arrogance you see in the kid that's playing Thor.
Right.
And I like that they use that to set up what we're going to see just the next scene later with his ceremony to become king.
Right.
And Hemsworth, like you've already mentioned, this guy kind of came out of nowhere. He was pulled from obscurity into this film. But what he does here, I think this movie, more so than most of the other Avengers films or Avengers character films, it shows a real progression of character, but I feel the actor does a lot of the heavy lifting there. It's not so much the story or the narrative, it's Hemsworth. And you see this with Hiddleston as well.
Yeah.
Is that the look on Hemsworth's face as he's walking through here, flipping the hammer
Oh,
up in
yeah.
the air. He's
Gives
eating
the
up the
wink.
crowd.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's all in his portrayal there that I get so much arrogance from Hemsworth here. Like,
Yeah.
what a choice, right?
It is a good choice because originally Tom Hiddleston auditioned for this role,
Yeah.
right? So
Daniel Craig was
yeah,
Really?
right. So
Yeah.
so they did a good job picking Hemsworth here.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think he's been a terrific Thor, and I think Chris Hemsworth? No, sorry. Loki.
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston has been a terrific Loki.
Oh yeah, he's brilliant. He's still to this day, I think, the best MCU villain we've gone. But like you mentioned here with these kids, like I said earlier, I wish we got a little bit more of this because I think they do such a good job with these kids, and it kind of goes back to the comics that they established before when they're that age. I'm kind of wishing, since this movie is an origin story as it is, just give me a full out origin story and give me, obviously more of the film as them being older, but I wish we did get a little bit more of them being kids and growing up and going on some of those adventures that Thor kind of mentions with the rest of his Warriors of Three.
Warriors 3. And
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
It was a lack of budget, so they're like, we're just gonna tell you about these. It's kind
Yeah,
of like Agents
that's
of
true.
Shield, with
That-
like you don't get to see Iron Man or Thor, but they're like there in the TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we did this crazy adventure. Can we see it? No, you just have to take our word for it.
Yeah.
Trust us.
Yeah, it was epic.
But that's interesting that you bring that up because as I kind of rewatched this movie once or twice coming into this is the only origin story where it's not about the hero getting his powers.
Right.
The hero is established with his powers.
Yeah.
And it's about learning about humility and how to help others. And it's about the journey back to who he is or who he should be,
yeah.
rather than the whole origin story about how he became Thor, how he learned to use Mjolnir,
right?
All these type of things. Would you have preferred? I know you've already said that you would have preferred a bit more of that. But what if the movie, the first half an hour, 40 minutes, was actually about Thor getting his powers, learning to use Mjolnir, and actually doing a proper origin story?
Oh, we'll love it. That's less Earth. That'd be no Earth. Oh yeah, I would have loved that, to get to see him use the sword for a little bit, and then he gets his hammer. I think that would have been cool, especially playing into Thor 3 now, because he's going to be going through some unworthy stages. I mean, we know that his hammer gets taken out, so it would kind of be cool to see that relationship be established, how he earned that hammer. I think that would have been actually really cool to see. But the budget would have been tough because you would have had to be on Asgard the whole time.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty tricky. You already have a no-name at the time, like Chris Hemsworth, carrying the movie, let alone having to share that screen time now with a kid actor playing that young Thor. So it would be a little tougher to do. I think now, if this was the MCU, you could have totally gone that route. But at the time, I think they made the right decision doing what they did.
Do you think they'll do a prequel?
No, but you could see flashbacks in Ragnarok. Like, you could see,
maybe.
flashbacks here and there, because his hammer's going to be destroyed. So that's a big part in this movie coming up. So I won't be surprised if we see something going back to him and his hammer, especially reading Unworthy Thor, because we get a little cycle of Thor from the 60s to the God of Thunder era, and then to the Unworthy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there.
Yeah.
Like, I think a little more would have helped, but what we got, I think, established this sibling rivalry, this jealousy from Loki, and this pure arrogance from Thor.
Right.
And I don't know if I needed more of that. I like that this is a slightly different comic book movie in the sense that we're not worrying about the origin of all of his powers, Mjolnir, all this. This just kind of throws you into it. Like, this whole movie so far has been about, here's the characters, here's Asgard, here's the mythology, boom, boom, boom. Half an hour in, we've established Asgard, we've established all of our main characters. We get kind of this chemistry and this give and take between Thor and Loki.
Yeah.
We understand who Odin is. There's a lot thrown at you there, but I never feel overwhelmed, and I'm kind of like thoroughly engaged. And I think a lot of it has to do with the acting.
Yes, big time, yeah.
Yeah. And we spoke a bit about Loki here, Tom Hiddleston's Loki. This is a character that I think, in hindsight, looking back on this, you see a lot of what he's done here in the early stages. Like, when you look at it's all emotion with Loki. And you look at kind of the early scenes here, he does not say very much.
No.
But you can read everything on his face. And I don't know if that's because we know his motivations from seeing subsequent movies, or if just how Tom Hiddleston has been playing him from the beginning. We're benefiting from hindsight here. But at the same time, I see all of that all over his face. And there's a really key moment for both characters that happens in a back-to-back scene where they go from the characters that we see at the start and they flip into the characters that they are today.
Right.
I'm going to point that out a little later on, but it all has to do with the acting. Now, we've already established that you guys are pure fans of Loki, of Tom Hiddleston here.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think of the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif? These are very much supporting characters. They're directly out of the comic books. Did you guys kind of buy them as some of the comic relief, as kind of companions of Thor?
I believe that they're companions. I believe they went way back and they've had some epic battles. Yeah, I think they kind of got more screen time than they really needed, especially them showing up on Earth towards the end of the film, or at the end of the film, which just looked, again, more silly going back to the costumes, because their costumes mixed with the humans, the Earthlings, just looks ridiculous. But yeah, it's tough. I could have done without them, for sure. I think they worked a lot better. Actually, they work way better in Thor 2 than they do in this film, I would say. Lady Sif is a little weird, kind of how her character is. She's a lot different, I find, in part 2 than she is here.
Yeah.
Did they recast some of these people?
Yeah.
One of them.
I can't remember his name. The swordsman guy.
Yeah.
The blonde guy with the beard. I think it was just a scheduling conflict.
Yeah, because he was actually originally meant to be in this one. The one from part 2 was originally meant to be in this one, but due to scheduling, he couldn't make it. But
interesting.
Yeah.
I think they did like a pretty good job. And Lady Sith, Jamie Alexander?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's her name? There was talk of her being Wonder Woman.
That's
So,
right.
I mean, you could totally see it. I mean, she kind of gives off that vibe as like a warrior princess. So, I mean, some of the stuff was a little too like comedic for me, but like whatever. Like they were meant to be the comedic relief in this film.
A little bit with Darcy and
Darcy.
she wasn't bad in this
She
film.
wasn't. Yeah, I was gonna say actually, compared to the second one, she's toned down
horrible.
a lot.
Yeah.
Well, this was before she was anything really, the actress herself.
Kat Dennings, yeah.
But I think the Warriors 3, benefit the most in this movie when they're fighting alongside Thor. In this first big fight on Jotunheim with the Frost Giants, you see them with their weapons and what they're able to do, kind of how they work with Thor. Because this is a great battle, but when we get to the end battle sequence, they get their asses kicked in about 10 seconds. Yeah. This year, they actually put up a good fight.
Yeah.
And they're having fun while doing it. And I'm really engaged with this fight here because of all 5 of them. They're having fun while kicking the crap out of some big frost giants.
Yeah.
And once you pull them out of that scene, I feel like they're useless for the rest of the movie. You don't really need them. They don't really have much effect on the end fight. And really, throughout here, they don't do much.
No.
Other than kind of run alongside Thor in this first fight.
And eat. Yeah. At least one of them does a whole lot of eating.
Yeah, that scene was so weird.
Yeah.
I think that Lady Sif is in this franchise. Like, I don't think we're going to see her much in Ragnarok, but I think she was very misused. Like, I think they could have really used this character, even as, I don't want to say, like, they kind of teased her as a bit of a love interest throughout part two, and even in this one towards the end, she's kind of yearning for him a bit. But I thought that even all of these characters, they could have been used a bit better, and I think they would have benefited from staying on Asgard or staying within the realms and using these characters as the supporting actors as opposed to using Jane Foster and Darcy and Eric Selvig. Like, they're okay characters, but I think that this whole Asgard aspect of it, they could have leveraged that a bit more by using these characters more appropriately in the setting that they fit.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we even needed Darcy, actually, to be honest, in this movie. I mean, Chris Hemsworth is funny enough as it is by himself.
Yeah. Some of those lines on Earth were actually hysterical.
Yeah. And one other character that we do get introduced here that becomes a big part, or is a big part of the Thor mythos, is Heimdall. He's played by Idris Elba, another horribly underused character in this franchise.
Absolutely.
He's a fantastic actor. He's a fantastic character.
Make him Green Lantern.
But he's got a lot of cool lines in here, and he has some big parts in this movie as far as when he kind of gets frozen there and he's a gatekeeper here. I really like what they did here. He's kind of this very stoic character. What did you think of Idris Elba there in this role?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
He seems like a guy you don't want to mess around with. Everybody kind of second guess, like, do I really want to, anger this guy? No, I really liked him in here. Again, I really feel like he's underused, not necessarily just in this movie, but just in this franchise. I feel like he should be so much more. And maybe he will be in Thor 3, because we see him, rocking the bishop braids from Days of Future Past there. It kind of looks similar. But, so maybe he'll be used more in Thor 3. But I like him. Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors going around currently that he possibly is the last Infinity Stone. He's the Soul Stone.
I heard that, yeah.
When I revisited this movie and I looked at his yellow eyes, I really got a sense of this.
Yes.
I don't know if it's on purpose or if they've been kind of pulling this through. I doubt it that they had that much foresight to actually make him the Infinity Stone. But going back and looking at this, that's believable now, even from just this movie.
What Infinity Stone is this one?
Soul Stone.
The Soul Stone.
Because there is a line in here that he can... I don't know if it's in this movie or in The Dark World where he says he can see the souls of many people. I think it might be in this movie. When he's on the edge of the Bifrost there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so maybe. Because there's also that theory with the letters, right? H or Hela.
Yeah.
We know Thanos has that connection to death.
Yeah.
I would like it if it's either or. If it's Hela or Idris. If it's Idris, that's cool, because then he would probably be some kind of like powerful henchman of some sort.
I think he's
to Thanos.
I think he'll die.
He'll die for sure, but he'll definitely have like some cool fight sequence then for sure. Like, we're definitely gonna see this guy kick some ass. Yeah. He'll probably bite it.
And him showing up in Infinity War would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
seeing him fight Thanos?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
As Thanos is trying to rip an Infinity Stone out of his gut.
Oh yeah.
Or his chest.
Out of his eyes?
Ooh.
And as we look at this first fight sequence, I know we spoke about it a bit there, but this is the first time we get to see Mjolnir in action. They spend quite a bit of time in this movie showing off this hammer. You know what? I kind of like what they did here. I liked how they showed how he spun it to fly.
Yes.
How it's just this really cool and unique weapon. Like, it's something that we haven't seen before. That when he pulls it back to himself and uses it to kick the shit out of some of these frost giants. It's
awesome.
Really cool scenes here.
It's like a companion, almost like Doctor Strange's cape.
Oh yeah.
It's I love that hammer. I wish I had one of those things. But it's cool. Yeah, they really capture that between the two of them. So yeah, no, I love what they did there.
And one other big reveal that we get during this first fight sequence on Jotunheim is that Loki really isn't what he appears to be. He is a frost giant, and this is directly out of Norse mythology and the comic books.
Oh, okay,
Really?
cool.
When I first saw this, I thought, this is before I had an established basis or understanding of Thor.
Yeah.
I thought this was all just for the movie, just as a plot point.
Okay.
But this is actually directly out of Loki's origins.
Interesting.
Yeah, see, I knew with the comics, I just had no idea, because I don't know anything about Norse mythology, so I had no idea that's actually from...
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And in the comic books, it's a bit more... it's not so much of Odin taking him because he felt sorry. He's actually banished or forced or cursed by his father Bor, who we see in Dark World, because he refused to help him or something to that effect. And anyways, he is kind of cursed until he takes the son of an enemy or something to that effect. Anyways, this leads us to taking Laufey's son in the comic books and raising him as his own. And that's kind of all kind of strung through here. And that's one thing that I think this movie does really well, is it takes a lot of the cues from the comic books and translates them into this movie.
Right.
And right down to the Loki's origins. Because, like I said, the first time I saw this, I thought definitely a plot point. Like, this
Right.
has nothing to do with comic books. Directly to the comic books.
Interesting.
They haven't really gone back on that, though, hey? Like, we've never really seen anything with his heritage.
No, not at
Throughout
all.
the films,
like
really,
they've kind
yeah.
of forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Like I think that they stuck to the comic books because that was kind of something that was established. But yeah, we never returned to that ever again.
No.
Like it's never even referenced.
No.
Oh,
No.
hey, you're a frost giant.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it even weirder that he wanted to kill off all frost giants at the end.
Yeah, and that's kind of all his whole plan here. And as we go through this movie, it's slowly revealed that he wants the throne of Asgard. And there's little references here and there. And like again, it's hard to revisit these things because you already know his plan, so you can
Right.
see things going along.
Yeah.
But not having that understanding, it'd be interesting, kind of going back to your original mindset and seeing if this plan of Loki's, is it expertly executed the way it seems to be, or is it something that's a bit more kind of hidden behind the closed doors and that, and you didn't really get this until the end reveal, because Loki's played as somewhat of a sympathetic character through the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
They make you feel sorry for him
Yeah.
because he isn't the firstborn son, because he doesn't have the powers or the muscles or anything like that.
Right.
And you really see Loki kind of use that to his advantage and manipulate Thor through this whole movie. But at the same time, I'm telling you, through this whole movie, I felt sorry for Loki at the start.
Oh yeah, same. I was right there for the most part. And I walked out of this movie, I remember coming out theaters being like, he was the best thing I've seen for a villain. This was after Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
This movie. Yeah. So I remember being like, this guy's like the next best thing since Heath Ledger. He killed it in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, he's a sympathetic villain, and they actually took the time to, build up their villain as
Yeah.
opposed to just having like a one-note character. And I think this is probably one of the best examples you could get. Like, he's not perfect, but he's one of the best, as you said, one of the best villains since Heath Ledger, and
Yep.
he's got to be in that conversation top 5 of all-time comic book villains.
Yeah, it's because they took the time to build this character, and it wasn't like the whole movie was dependent on him.
Yeah.
Right? Like they had the Destroyer, they had the Frost Giants, and you also had Loki in the background. So they had some time to develop this character alongside Thor as well as independently from Thor. Because at some point here we break off into two different settings where you have kind of Loki's story being told and Thor's story being told more or less in parallel. And it's kind of cool that they've done that, because this is the first MCU movie that is an origin story for both the villain and the hero. We don't kill off our main villain at the end of this, or well, they kind of do, but they don't.
Yeah.
They do that a lot in this movie. I mean, there's 3 people, Thor, Odin, and Loki, and they all have fake death scenes in this movie.
Yeah. But as we come to a conclusion of this first fight sequence, we do see Odin rescuing them on his mighty steed here. And if you weren't aware of what was going on in this movie, Odin spells it out for you in this next scene when they come back in the Bifrost. He calls Thor a vain, greedy, and cruel boy. He says he's arrogant and his stupidity has cost or brought threat of war to Asgard. So he's screaming this at Thor. If you didn't get that from Hemsworth acting, you get it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is when we move into the unworthy part of Thor's story. And I really have always liked the line that he whispers to the hammer as he's banishing Thor. It's, whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the powers of Thor. Well, maybe now she as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I really like how they did this. And Anthony Hopkins in the scene absolutely kills it. He sells this.
He does such a great job throughout this whole movie with his acting. It's incredible. I really do like this scene, actually, and how he kind of, he tears apart his armor and he's all like, this is my father and this is his forefather, and he just breaks it down completely and banishes Thor, right?
Yeah.
I love that part. The lightning wasn't so great, but everything else was fantastic in this scene.
It's a powerful scene.
It is.
Yeah, and Anthony Hopkins is just a terrific actor. And, the one thing that MCU has done really well is get these veteran, terrific actors to kind of play bit parts to kind of like build up some of the younger cast and the inexperienced cast. And not necessarily saying Chris Hemsworth did a poor job, but Anthony Hopkins is just on another level of acting. And there's very few people in this world that can act as good as him. And he's a full display in this movie.
Definitely. And this is kind of the last time, too, we see that chain link. We see it a bit at the end. He's always sleeveless.
Who, Thor?
Thor, going forward in the next movies.
I think part 2 he has it back again. In Avengers, it's armless or sleeveless. And then Thor 2, it's back again. And then it's gone again. Back.
Weird.
Yeah.
It depends on his biceps are looking.
Yeah. Did he do his curls that morning or not?
Yeah. I think he looks more jacked in this movie than in Avengers.
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah.
He's huge in this movie.
But he doesn't look this jacked in Avengers, which is weird because Avengers came out the next year. Maybe, I don't know if he was...
But this movie could have been shot far before. I mean, even Chris Evans, he's huge in the first Avenger, and then after he's pretty much in the costume the whole time, and you don't really see.
No,
except when he's carrying a helicopter.
I feel like to some degree these guys get jacked up for a scene, and then this workout has got to drop off.
You can't
be doing
maintain...
2-3 a days to get your biceps to look like that.
Yeah,
if not injecting something. But.
That's what not Heath Ledger, Hugh Jackman. That's the reason why he stopped playing Wolverine. Is I can't. He's 50 years old now. He's I can't maintain this physique all the year round.
No,
and it's just impossible.
Nuts. All you're eating is chicken and
egg whites.
Yeah,
it's the 300 effect.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Before that movie, if you look at some of the superhero films, I mean, they weren't as big, but the actors weren't as big. You look at Michael Keaton as Batman. Yeah. Christopher Reeves is a big guy, but he's no Henry Cavill.
No, not even close.
Yeah,
that guy's a mountain of a man.
I mean, so I don't know. It seems like that's the way it's gone. It's you could have got away with it 20 years ago, having a Thor that's just kind of he's a pretty impressive physical specimen, but Chris Hemsworth is he doesn't even look like the same species. He's just massive.
And it doesn't help that Jane Foster is tiny. So when they put her beside him at that scene, it's this is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, they really try hard to translate the actual comic book look of these characters onto film.
Yes.
And you can only do so much with a human, right?
Yeah. I mean, some of the comic book, there's pretty ridiculous portions. With Hulk, you can CGI it up.
Yeah.
But someone like Juggernaut, when they got, what's his name?
He wore a bodysuit for that.
And he looked awful. Yeah. Or Bane with the guy was pretty jacked. Yeah, the veins from Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Superhero Bodies brought to you by the Nerd Room.
Anyways, we were at a junction point in this movie. We have an unworthy Thor, and he is now on Earth. And for me, this is when the movie starts to slow down a bit too much. We've had a pretty breakneck pace for the first 30 minutes here. We've established everything here. And we come now down to New Mexico. And this movie comes to a grinding halt. One thing that I wanted to ask you guys, why does Chris Hemsworth's face look so weird?
Yes. Yeah,
Am I right?
His bleached eyebrows, and his
beard.
goatee, his beard everything's bleach blonde.
I'm
his
pretty
face
sure he's wearing
puffy.
a wig as well.
It's weird.
Because I was looking at, I was like, why does he look? He's wearing prosthesis. What is going on here?
He's unworthy of the eyebrow.
I guess they tried to just make him look so blonde.
It was silly.
Yeah.
It just looked ridiculous, especially when he hit Earth.
Yeah.
Speaking of silly, was it just me, or did that whole New Mexico town look like a really poor set?
Is a horrible set.
It looks so small.
That's the problem with this Earth sequence is that you go from this massive, expansive Asgard, and they spent so much time explaining to you how big the cosmos is, how big Asgard is. Yeah. We've got these characters with these flamboyant costumes on. Everything is on ridiculous scale, and then we shoot back down to a 25-person town in the middle of New Mexico.
It's one street.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't.
With like a 7-Eleven that gets blown up.
The scale change is way too dramatic.
Yeah.
For this movie, and that's what makes it feel so small now. And I don't like that.
No.
I like the big feeling Thor. Like, this was established as a different type of movie, and now we're into the smallest MCU movie setting that we ever get.
Yeah,
Period.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
Like, it's like smaller than... I can't even think of like a small town anymore.
It's a bad set. It's just
looks
not appealing.
fake.
It looks so
Yeah.
fake. Yeah.
Like, it totally looks like they just ran out of money and they said, okay, slap. Like, you could totally tell those buildings just have like a storefront on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing behind there.
And those
at
Marvin
all.
extras, that's just like the crew of the film.
Yeah.
Half the time walking through the set.
Yeah, can you pretend to lift a hammer up, Bob? Oh, sure, why not?
That was a fun scene.
Yeah.
That
The
scene
music
in
That
the
was
going?
scene, yeah.
Yeah.
The Stanley
As soon as
cameo.
he actually touches down, the first like 5 minutes on Earth is actually kind of funny. Just to see Asgard, Thor, just out of
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, this whole fish out of water thing
Yeah.
that they do for a while, I
Yeah.
really like that.
Yeah.
He drinks
when-
the coffee.
Yeah, smash it
Yeah.
on the ground.
Yeah.
He goes looking for the horse, and he gets hit by a
Right.
couple cars.
Yeah.
And then that whole sequence in the hospital where he's beating guys up.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, "You can't do anything to the mighty," and then they kind of drug him. And
Yeah.
you see that too when Darcy and them first meet him, and they tase him.
Yeah, it's an ongoing theme with him for a little bit.
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
really like that. Like,
Yeah.
they played that really well, and it wasn't overdone.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel like, okay, I know that he's a fish out of water,
Right.
and I know this is gonna happen. They play that off really well.
So that's what I was wondering. With him being unworthy, I guess we'd have to say he's unworthy at this point from Odin.
Yeah.
So does the hammer give him like that full strength? Like he still has the strength of a god somewhat? Like they don't really
That's
go
a
into that?
bit confusing
Yeah.
because when he's
Yeah.
in the hospital and he beats the crap out of all the security guards, he's got an incredible amount of strength there. Like, I know he's
Yeah.
a big dude, but he's whipping those guys around. But then when he's fighting all the guys in S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yeah.
he has issues with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a bit of inconsistency there, and I don't understand if it's a hammer that gives him power or if it should be the fact that he's Asgardian, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
what gives him the ability to be strong and live forever and these type of things. It has
Exactly.
nothing to do with the hammer.
Right.
So I really don't know what the deal is with that, like what his powers are, and he calls himself immortal and he needs sustenance and all these type of things, right?
Right.
But at the same time, he still has some lingering powers.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I was
a bit
wondering.
strange.
Yeah.
It's not consistent, that's for sure.
Right.
Now the humans that he does run into, this is Darcy Jane Foster, which is a very well established character in the Thor mythos, as well as Eric Selvig. This is a character again. I'm pretty sure that he is a new character. He's now in the comic books. He's actually in the new Captain America books. Eric Selvig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's kind of the guy that's helping him on the side.
Yes.
The whole dynamic between the four of them, I think, at least in this early scenes, is pretty good. Darcy is held way back
Right,
from what we
scaled
get
down,
in,
yeah.
in Dark World, and I think her quips are quite funny too.
Yeah.
They land right. Eric Selvig is another nice presence, Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. I like him in here. He acts as kind of this bridge between the mythology and the science. I really like that. They leveraged his Scandinavian heritage into this movie. I think that was a really cool way to give an audience perspective of what's going on as far as the believability of these gods and legends and all this. And
Right.
so he brought that, because he says at one point that he grew up with these stories.
Yes.
And it's kind of cool that they use that and leverage that into this film. But overall, did you think that the human characters that played alongside Thor benefited this movie? Or could you have done with less of them and maybe something else, some other element added into this movie?
Like, I'm gonna just go with Jane Foster. I thought for me, like, Natalie Portman's a terrific actress. Like, Black Swan, terrific movie. She's even in Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sunjay,
But
go.
There you go.
this performance, she felt like a teenage girl that was like love struck the whole time. Like, no depth whatsoever.
No, that was, yeah.
She's just like has a smile on her face. She's like she was just like twirling her hair pretty much, like Valley Girl. I'm like, you're supposed to be like one of the foremost scientists
Yes.
in the world, and here you are just like fawning over Thor, like just like I don't know, like it to me it was not miscast but
Directed?
Yeah,
Miswritten?
miswritten, misdirected,
Yeah.
missed opportunity.
Yeah, like I hear you 100% there. Like, especially the fact that she's supposed to be this amazing scientist.
Yeah.
But she's just in awe of Thor the whole time,
Yeah.
and it does such disservice to this character. I don't know exactly what you do with this character. Like, yes, you have to establish it as kind of this love interest, but maybe you don't do that directly in this movie. Like, the chemistry, I don't think was ever there.
No.
I never got anything between the two of them. And you're right. She is just wide-eyed ogling over Thor the whole time. She doesn't have any value this whole movie.
Yeah.
And like they establish her up front as, like you said, she's the one investigating what is revealed to be the Bifrost, and then that all goes away because she's too busy looking at Thor.
Yeah.
I think, it's funny. At first, when they had her connection with Thor, it didn't bother me. I felt like it was kind of subtle for at one point. It was the end when I was just like, wait, where did this Valley Girl character come from? Because at the end, she was just like goo over this guy. Like, she just went crazy. And it's like, where'd this come from? I think it would have been better if Thor was chasing her constantly. Just being arrogant, just being like, I want this girl, right? Mm-hmm. And then eventually getting, like that would have worked for me more so when she was kind of more of like the Pepper kind of character, kind of being like a little more strong-willed and focused on her books, as opposed to her just being like, I don't know, Legally Blonde or whatever. I just that was kind of.
That's a great film, Troy.
The first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Jane Foster was a missed opportunity, and Natalie Portman's an incredible actress. I watched her in Jackie this year, and she killed that role. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I really don't know what else you could have done.
Yeah.
There. Like, I like this idea of leveraging a bit more on the arrogance of Thor. Like, I can have any woman I want.
Yes.
Smash.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, terribly misused.
Right.
Yeah. And they could have done so much with this. And being that this is a character that's straight to the comic books, and now she's Lady Thor, or Thor, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, I just wish... maybe I was a little harsh there, but... I like some of the early stuff when she keeps hitting him with the car.
Yeah.
And they do have some fun interaction early on. Mm-hmm. But even when he's explaining to her about magic and science are one and the same thing, she's just, really?
Yeah.
Oh my
the campfire.
God.
Yeah.
That's
There's
right.
none of this about her trying to be like, oh, well, this is how we see things, and kind of explaining it from a scientific perspective.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God, you're drawing a tree on this book, and this is amazing.
Yeah.
And when you fall asleep on this roof, it's probably freezing ass cold there. Like, I just didn't like any of that. Like, it never really got me into the character. Like, I think that took away from the movie, where you could have spent more time with Loki or Thor doing something else with Odin, and we spent all this time establishing the fact that she loves him so much.
Yeah.
And they spend no time with Thor being like, I actually kind of like her.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of just him kind of smirking and being like, yeah, I'm Thor. Like, really? Like, there's no substance there.
Yeah,
Like, it's
it's
never
true.
earned that end kiss, or this love, this yearning that he has after he destroys the Bifrost.
Right.
Like, that's never earned about, like, his relationship with her, and the fact that he's just enamored with her the same way she is with him.
Yeah.
Like, I never, ever get that.
Yeah, they totally just threw in a love interest just to have a love interest, even though there are something in the comic, but here they really just threw it in there, not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
No, and like, again, it's another weak point, because you look at what they did in Iron Man 1 with Pepper Potts.
Oh, it's perfect.
It was executed awesome.
Yeah.
And when they went into the realm of love interest in Iron Man 2, that's when I felt their chemistry fell apart.
Right.
And then you look at, what's her name from Incredible Hulk 2?
Oh, Betty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another missed opportunity there to have a very strong female character that could have factored into the end in some way, other than being the reason that he's kind of upset at the end.
Yeah.
Like, they've kind of fixed some of it now. They've kind of shoot her off. I
Yes.
think.
Oh, yeah, they have it.
And going into to Ragnarok, they've got Tessa Thompson, and
That's right.
she looks like she's gonna be
Oh,
badass.
it's Valkyrie.
Yeah, and the fact that they had Jamie Alexander's Lady Sif in there too, they could have used that character, because
Right.
she was a kick-ass character as
was.
well.
Yeah.
But just again, like I said, horribly underused.
Yeah, if they did it right, just like Cap, because it's still the best MCU trilogy there, he doesn't have a love interest, and it works. Well, he does.
Peggy
Sharon.
Carter.
There's Sharon, and there's Peggy.
But they're both badass.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it works. And then in Winter Soldier, he doesn't even have one,
No.
really. So, yeah.
Is that Civil War or Winter Soldier? It's the Civil War when he finally kisses
Oh, yeah.
and his buddies in the
Yeah. That's classic.
that was well executed.
Oh, it's perfect.
And that was earned.
Yeah, and it's anticipated. There's a build-up
Yes.
for that moment, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough talking about love interest in the MCU. We kind of went on a bit of a rant there.
Yeah.
But as we go into this New Mexico scene, we also get Coulson returning. This is an extremely welcomed appearance by Coulson here. This is the connective tissue throughout the entirety of Phase 1 is S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson, and Nick Fury.
Right.
I just love the fact that they use him. That sit well. This is his first appearance as well. This is a great way to leverage characters and to put things in to build a cohesive universe. This is how you do it. With characters like this, you don't need to have Tony Stark swooping in here at the end and saving the day.
Yeah.
Having characters like Coulson and S.H.I.E.L.D. just popping up and saying, look, this is part of this also. Let's remember Iron Man 2. Let's
Yes.
remember what we're trying to build here. And this does an excellent job throughout this whole movie. It is all organic, and it doesn't feel like it's out of place at all, I don't think, in any of this.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And the crazy thing is, because I would have never catched this until I revisited it for this retrospective series, is that other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who's in Winter Soldier.
That's
the
right.
Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what? I had no idea who's in this movie.
Yeah, he shows up, Winter Soldier. He
Yeah.
shows up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Oh, he's on the TV series.
Yeah, and he's also in
Oh.
that short, the funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
Okay.
With Agent Coulson. Oh no, that's just Coulson. It's the consultant. He's the one at the table with Coulson when they're talking about when they retcon that whole Tony Stark end credit scene in Incredible Hulk. There's a Marvel one shot called The Consultant. And
Okay.
Sitwell and Coulson are in that as well.
That's crazy. Yeah, I had no idea he's in this film. So when
Yeah.
I saw that, I was like, oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Cool.
Yeah. And one little Easter egg in here that I have always loved is the Dr. Donald Blake.
Oh, I
That's
love that.
right, yeah.
Yes.
So they do this twice with the name tag, and
Yeah.
then they also use it later as his fake ID. And this is directly to the comic books. Like, you go back to the original Thor, which, funny enough, after seeing and understanding what was going on in the MCU a bit, I went straight to Avengers, and then the next book I picked up was Thor.
Nice.
So I started reading this, and I was like, oh my god, this is nothing like the movie.
No. Because he had like that split personality of some sort, wasn't it? Like,
So
how'd that work again?
What originally it was that this was later retconned, I think, Thor 159.
Okay.
But what it actually is that he's this Dr. Donald Blake, and he wanders into this cave after seeing these rock monsters from Saturn planning some sort of alien. Yeah, it's crazy. Alien invasion. He finds this cane, and he gets upset, and he smashes the cane into a rock, and then it turns into the hammer, and then he walks out of the cave, and he looks like Thor. So,
What?
yeah, it's. I might not be doing it justice there, but it's friggin' weird. But they later retcon this as what we see in the movie. Basically, is that Dr. Donald Blake is actually Thor Odin's son.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And he was banished by Odin down to Earth and made a doctor, so he helps people.
Right.
But he took on this kind of split personality type thing, and
Yeah.
he kind of had to find his way to the hammer, and Odin kind of had set the path forward for him so that he would eventually find it and learn humility and become worthy again. So it's kind of
Right.
like this, but
Okay.
they retconned it because the first it was, and he had to hold the hammer. Or if he didn't hold the hammer for so long, he turned back to Donald Blake, he was kind of a bit of a cripple.
Yeah.
And so there's different things where he loses the hammer and he turns back to Donald Blake in the middle of a fight. So it's a lot of weird
like
1962,
Hulk.
63 type kind of comic.
So in the original, though, he was like that Donald Blake. crippled.
Dr. Donald Blake, yeah.
Wow.
So it was, like I said, it was retcon later. But yeah, it's strange. It was a nice nod in here to the original
Yeah.
comic book series. And yeah, man, really weird origin. I'm glad I didn't go down that route.
I should have tried it. It would have been fun.
Something
Yeah.
different.
Here,
right?
wear this trench coat, this lab coat.
One thing I wanted to get your guys' opinions on here was in Iron Man 2, we talked a bit about the editing. It jumped around from story to story back and forth here. And it's really at this point where we start bouncing between Asgard and New Mexico. And the one thing that I really liked about how they edited this film was that they spent quite a bit of time in each location before they jumped. We got almost like the closure of a mini arc in each setting. It wasn't kind of Loki here and then, we're back in New Mexico, and they're back and forth, back and forth. This seemingly took the time to do 5-minute sequences before it jumped. Did you guys kind of feel that? Or did you feel the movie was still a bit disjointed with the editing?
No, the editing never really took me out of the film. One thing to do with the camera, though, that took me out of this film were these angle shots. You noticed a couple times the camera kept kind of turning, and I was like, in theaters it works really well on the big screen because I've never seen it in theaters. Like, yeah, this looks pretty cool. But then watching it at home, and I was like, why do they keep doing that? Like, there's scenes when they're on like the rooftop sitting there, and it's going like this or a close up, and just the camera. Like right now, you guys can't see me, but my hands are moving side to side. But it's just a really weird angle that took me out. But the editing actually was much better in this than it was for Iron Man 2. I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it never took me out of the film at all. Like, I always felt like, okay, this is an appropriate time to move on because we seemingly have come to the conclusion of whatever kind of mini story they're telling here. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of jump to Asgard and we jump back and we're in the next logical place in New Mexico or Asgard or whatever.
Or a corridor.
Yes.
The orange filter.
Yeah.
And as we shift back to Asgard, kind of jumping back and forth, we start to tell a lot of Loki's story. And again, I had mentioned this earlier. This is what I really like, is that we spend time learning and developing Loki as well as Thor in New Mexico. And we see these characters individually develop, and then they eventually come back together. But we get kind of this whole scene with Odin and Loki, where Odin reveals to Loki about who he actually is, and then we had Odin collapsing, going into the Allfather sleep, and Loki taking the throne here after having a very emotional discussion with his father. And this is where I think that Hiddleston, again, is absolutely fantastic. He continues to make me feel sorry for him, while at the same time executing this plan. Like, it is just so well done, and I don't think I ever really appreciated how good this character is in this movie until watching it this with these kind of retrospective goggles on.
Yeah, his acting, again, he steals the show. Again, to show the fact that this actor is going toe-to-toe with Anthony Hopkins on screen, and some parts outperforming him. Like, that's crazy. It has a little bit of a yelling match going on there, but he held it down. Just fantastic, that scene. It's a little weird when Anthony Hopkins kind of like falls to his knees. I was kind of like, wait, what's going on? Why is he doing? Get up. But for the most part, he's great.
Yeah, and I had no idea. He's in his winter sleep or something.
Odin sleep.
I'm like, what the hell's that? They don't even explain it. They're just like, he's in his Odin sleep. Okay, what is that?
Yeah.
Not all of us are versed in Norse mythology. Like, it's not like something common. Like, oh, he just went to sleep for the night. Like, okay, Odin sleep.
He's probably gonna wake up later, right?
Yeah, he'll wake up in 8 hours. Like, leave him alone.
I think it's basically a plot device, I think, to remove Odin from the story.
Yeah.
You don't want to have Loki take him out, because Loki is behind the scenes trying to make it look like he saved the day and he's the worthy one for the throne, as opposed to just going out and stabbing Odin like he probably eventually does later on. But I think it's just a way to remove Odin from the movie without having anything bigger happen, because he's basically, whenever they're in trouble, he comes to the rescue, right? Yeah. And if it's like Professor X, you got to get rid of him at some point here.
It's powerful.
Yeah, because you're just not going to have a movie that makes any sense when you can just say, well, why didn't Odin just fix this or do this or whatever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's an appropriate move to remove him from the story for now, and it allows Loki to develop quite a bit more throughout all this.
Yeah.
And as the movie shifts now back to Earth, I know this sounds like we're jumping around a lot more. It's a lot better in the movie. We get another fight scene, and this one thing that this movie really lacked was big fight sequences. For a movie with Thor, with all these powers, with this hammer, he spends very little time using those. We saw at the very start a very short fight sequence with the Frost Giants, and now here we get basically a man-on-man, fist-to-fist kind of battle as he's running through this shield facility.
Yep.
Which, you know what, it's all right. Like, it's nothing fantastic. You don't get to see the display of the powers like you do in other Marvel movies. Like, you see what Hulk can do, you see what Iron Man can do. This is just Hemsworth beating the crap out of people.
Yeah. Cage match.
Yeah. You don't get a lot out of this, I don't think, other than the cameo of Hawkeye here.
Right.
Which I think is great.
Do anything.
No, he doesn't.
He's just there.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, Black Widow isn't really explained in Iron Man, but you get a lot more depth to that character. This is kind of a blink and you'll miss it cameo. If you don't know who Hawkeye is, you're thinking, why'd the guy grab a bow and arrow?
Yeah. Where's the sniper rifle?
Yeah, just grab the gun. Like, they don't really ever establish much with Hawkeye, and you get him kind of in the first scene of Avengers, so you know who this character is.
Yeah.
But realistically, he's up in this dark bucket. I don't know if there's enough there. Like, they could have spent a little bit more time, even in the SHIELD facility, with Clint Barton and acknowledging a bit more who the character is.
Yes.
And then him running out and grabbing the bone. That would have made a bit more sense. To just have him show up and have a talking line with Sitwell, with Coulson, and have him established as a SHIELD agent.
Yeah.
And then when he shows up in Avengers, you're like, oh yeah, there's the guy from Thor.
Right.
But right now you're kind of a bit confused, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I could never really separate myself from, I guess, the character, because I've always known, going into this movie, that's Hawkeye. So I'm just waiting for the scene when he shows up. But you bring up a good point. For the general audience, you're probably like, what? Like, okay, you got top agents here. The guy grabs a bow and arrow to take out Thor. This is weird. So you're right. Yeah, I really do like actually what you pitched there, because they should have explained this character a little bit. Just a little bit of background. Just a little.
And just a small little quip in here about him not liking guns. I don't like guns.
Yeah. Right.
I use another weapon.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
they could have, this makes a bit more sense. And I know what they're trying to do here, but the fact that they spent so much time establishing Black Widow and Iron Man 2, they could have even removed Sitwell. Like, you didn't I guess it's kind of cool that he shows up later on in the Winter Soldier, but you could have used him as kind of one of the lead agents there
to go with Coulson there.
Yeah. So anyways, just a little nitpick. I thought being that he is Hawkeye and he's a big important piece of the Avengers puzzle, I think they would have given him a bit more screen time
for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But this is the scene where we get Hemsworth pulling on this hammer, and I know we've spent a lot of time talking about his physique, but I'm gonna talk about it one more time here. Because holy shit, his biceps are big.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, like it's with all the rain coming down and stuff. Like, it was I was like, Hemsworth, like, what are you doing this weekend? Is your big biceps? Can you protect me? Your big, strong, manly arms over there. Like, they literally look like great, like, redwood trees. Like, it's insane. Like, he's like the gun show. Like, he wins the bicep award of. He's entering the Bicep Hall of Fame.
You know what? Getting off of biceps there a little bit, but what the cool thing is about this scene is it adds a little bit more weight to Age of Ultron when you get the scene of all the Avengers trying to pull at this thing, and the homeboy there, Captain America, makes it move a little bit, right? Which is cool. So looking at that scene and just seeing how hard it is to lift this thing, and Cap gets a little wiggle there. I just thought it was kind of cool.
But this is the scene where I really get Sword in the Stone.
Yeah, right.
Like, this is exactly this, right?
For sure.
Like, everyone's, and even from the scene in the crater, like, everyone's pulling on this. No one's worthy. No. This is exactly Sword in the Stone. But this is, I think, the point in the movie where we get two of the more crucial scenes for both Thor and Loki. This is where Thor finally learns a bit of humility. He is still the arrogant man walking up to this hammer. When he's unable to lift this, his spirits are absolutely broken. And then we get a scene here with Loki visiting him in the cell that he kind of beats on him a little more and manipulates him a little bit more by telling him that Odin is dead and that it's his fault, basically, and that he can't come back home. This is when Thor starts to really change. And even Loki here, this is when we start to see the true Loki come out.
Right.
And you start to see the grin on Tom Hiddleston's face. It has become so iconic for this Loki character. And as we move through the movie a bit here, we get into what I'm calling the two crucial scenes. We get the bar scene. This is the first time that we see Thor showing a bit of humility and regret for what he's done in the past. And this is, I think, where you get that flip change in Hemsworth acting, where he goes from this arrogant son of a bitch to this very humble Thor that we get in every single movie going forward. He just flips the switch, and I don't know what it is, but it's there. It's in this scene that you see the change. And then the following scene with Loki, when he goes to Jotunheim to propose to bring in the Frost Giants to kill Odin. This is, again, where you finally see the Loki we get in Avengers. It's another scene where, again, it's like another light switch goes off, and all of a sudden we've gone from this very sympathetic character to this very evil, well-developed villain. And it's just all of a sudden they're both there almost at the same time. This is really well executed, and one of my favorite parts of the movie as far as character development.
Yeah, no, it's some good stuff there. Going a little back there, it's funny what they do with Loki coming down and giving Thor the whole guilt trip. It's kind of a little bit of a Lion King, If you look at Loki, he's kind of playing the Scar, the Jeremy Irons role there, right? Manipulating Simba. Thor. So it's pretty cool, but you're right. Two big points here going on with Thor's character progressing, and then we also get Loki obviously changing too. So yeah, I really like what they did here. It would have been kind of cool. I mean, I know you couldn't do it with this movie because you only have so much time, but if you got a sense of Thor kind of giving up then and just trying to plant his roots on Earth and kind of find a home here, where Loki starts running Asgard, then he runs into hell, and then somebody comes back, like say the Warriors of Three are like, hey, you gotta come back, we need you back here, and he's kind of like, no, well, I got a family here, I'm kind of cool, and
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah, there you go, Lion King. Thor. Yeah, what'd you think of all this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to agree. I mean, they do kind of do this scene again in Avengers, and I'm not sure in Thor: The Dark World if they use it again, where it's like one person's in prison and Loki kind of tricks his way out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like overused, but like at the time, you kind of see, okay, and at first you're like, is Odin actually dead or not? You like I don't even know, like what's Loki's motivations here?
Right, because they didn't really explain the Odin sleep. Right, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I could see why you think that.
When I first saw it, I was like, well, maybe he's still alive, or maybe he's dead.
He is dead. Okay.
But yeah, no.
Yeah, like in this scene tired. And right through this, just very tired.
He's just going to bed.
But this whole thing. This whole scene is meant to establish that Loki has been manipulating Thor the whole time.
Yes.
And this is done really, really, really well. And as we go through this film, as we move into what can be called, I guess, the final big action sequence, if you want to call it that, the Warriors 3 show up in this New Mexico town, and they tell Thor that, you're not the one responsible for your father's death. He's actually still alive, just in the Odin sleep, and Loki has now taken the throne. And then we get Loki sending the Destroyer down to Earth. And I know I'm kind of whipping through some of this stuff, but we've kind of gone through a lot of some of the elements here already. Sure. And this Destroyer, he was established in Odin's vault. We knew what he could do. And the best part about this Destroyer when it lands on Earth is the quip we get from Coulson about this being one of Stark's. He never tells me anything.
Yeah.
After that, I'm kind of lost. We go from, like I said before, massive big sets and all this, and then we end up with a very, very small fight sequence at the end here. The Warriors 3 get their asses kicked, and Thor quickly makes a sacrifice. Now, this is all part of the hero's journey, right? He's come to the conclusion here that the best thing he can do is sacrifice himself for the people in this town. And what did you guys... I can tell by the laughter that you have about the same opinion here as me, is that this whole scene does not justify what they build in the first 30 minutes of this movie, which I think were the best 30 minutes in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. This is a pretty bad fight scene. This is probably on par. This is probably worse than Rocky V. When he fights Tommy guns.
Outside the street. Yeah.
Yeah. This is bad. It's so quick. You just didn't care. And again, this fight scene takes place on that horrible set in New Mexico,
right,
between Thor and the Destroyer, and nothing was working for me. And again, the Warriors 3 show up there, and they're done. Nothing was really working. I just felt like they're like, okay, wrap up the film. Let's throw the Destroyer here. Let's see what happens. Make it work.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's just so quick.
Yeah,
there's no emotion to it.
Yeah,
and then he's just so quick to sacrifice himself.
Yeah,
you're just you have Iron Man and you have Hulk and you have Shield and the army, and you're just just kill me.
They needed to do that for the story, but I think that could have been executed better.
Yeah,
and the fact that he dies from just a bitch slap.
He
got his ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, if he was defending the Warriors 3, say the Destroyer shot out a beam and he took that beam, or something.
It was just the fact that he just walked up and said, "All right, I'm
slap
here."
Slap me, yeah.
There's nothing to
stop
that.
it, and then he just gets hit, yeah.
Like the Batman Robin slap.
Yeah. Slapped her around the world.
Yeah, that was not great. And he gives the speech, and then Loki doesn't even do anything, and he's just I don't know,
just kill him.
Yeah, it just felt so out of place.
Yes.
And even once he becomes Thor again, I like when he shoots his hand up, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But even the fight where he kind of whips him up into the sky, and
that's it.
It just was, it's okay. And then I don't even know what to say about that, because you don't really get much there.
No.
And then we end up back on Asgard, and I think this is where the movie picks up again a bit. And this is where, again, it shows that the best parts of this movie are when it's in Asgard.
Yeah.
Because we get Thor showing back up, and we see the conclusion, or what Loki feels is the conclusion of his plan, by bringing in Laufey to kill Odin so that he doesn't have to do it. He eventually saves him, and this is about bringing Loki to the throne in what he sees as a fit way. Mm-hmm. And this whole fight sequence at the end with Thor, with Loki, there's a lot of emotion here, there's a lot of stakes here, and it looks pretty cool when he starts destroying the Bifrost.
Right.
This, again, I think where I lose this whole thing with him and Jane Foster is when Loki's screaming at him, "You'll never see her again." He should be like, "I've known her for about 8 hours."
Yeah. You mean you want me to save an entire race of people, or this woman that I just met?
Yeah. So that was never earned there for me, but there's some cool scenes in there with Heimdall and Thor putting the hammer on his chest.
That was cool.
That was cool.
It's pretty cool.
It was a neat way to defeat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I really like this. This for me is, it's something that you can kind of take away some of the New Mexico stuff here, the Unworthy stuff, and jam together some of the Asgard scenes here. And this really makes the movie feel a lot better for me. If the movie had ended with him just defeating the Destroyer, and we'll return next week, and we'll have Thor go up in Thor: The Dark World and save the realm from Loki, that would have really ended this franchise, I
Would've been
think.
horrible.
Yeah, that would have been awful.
But
horrible,
ending here with Thor, Odin, and Loki,
Yes.
all in the Bifrost after it's been destroyed. Great. I love the look of the realms from there. And we have Loki committing suicide or killing himself to some degree.
Yeah.
And dropping off into the cosmos. This whole end sequence, really well executed. I think this topped the movie off in the perfect way. Maybe not so much a perfect way, but in an appropriate way. That it gave us what we wanted out of the Thor Loki fight. And it kind of established going forward what we're probably going to see as far as a movie for the follow-on sequel.
Yeah, and such a good, well, not the best, but I mean, an appropriate after credit scene.
Yes.
You know, so for anybody at the time watched this movie, saw Loki do what he did at the end. If you didn't watch the last after credit scene, you kind of, screwed yourself there, because it's pretty important to watch that bit. And that goes right into Avengers, obviously,
it does.
right?
And
It's
that's
cool.
such an intriguing after credit scene because we just saw our villain kill himself.
Yeah.
And then he's immediately back.
Right.
But I think that's pretty cool because Loki being a character that people seemingly liked,
Right.
and it kind of went against the grain with Marvel because they, in the past 3 movies, they more or less killed their main villains. Or their villains we never see again.
That's right.
But this immediately says, no, we're doing something a little bit different here.
Yeah.
And we're showing you that, no, Loki's not dead. He's actually kind of inhabiting Eric Selvig and controlling him. And this whole, that's worth a look. Another famous line from Loki here. Like, looking at the Tesseract, so this sets up the MacGuffin for not only Captain America, but also the Avengers. It sets up the villain for the Avengers.
Right.
So this very condensed scene with Nick Fury does a lot for the forward-going movies. And it connects Thor into Captain America. And we see that in Captain America as well when they talk about the Norse mythology, when they find the Tesseract.
Yes.
So there's a lot of connective tissues there between 2 movies that really have no business being connected.
Yep, and it makes it more comic book accurate because Loki is the villain that brought the Avengers together in the first place. So it's really cool that they did decide to keep Loki around enough to do that. So
Exactly. So all in all, guys, that was an absolutely fantastic discussion. I find it's funny because when I write my reviews here, I'm so positive. But when I sit down to talk about it, I'm much more negative than I really want to be. But I have to say, I actually really did enjoy this movie. It does have quite a few weaknesses, but overall, it is a very good movie.
Yep.
How do you guys feel about this movie as a wrap-up, and do you recommend Thor?
yeah, it's funny. This movie feels pretty much the exact same spot where I left it when I saw it in the theaters all that time ago in 2011. It's not a bad movie by any means, but it's definitely at this point in the MC universe, it's the weakest of Iron Man 1 and 2 and Hulk, in my opinion. But Chris Hemsworth is worth seeing alone. He's so good in this movie. This is probably the best cast movie actually we have when it comes down to just pure acting chops. It's an incredible cast you got going on. It's worth seeing for the story for sure because there is a lot of buildup, and this is like a lot of buildup, setup done in such a good way. Like it's never hitting you over the head with all the setup, but there's a lot of setup in this film. So going into the MCU, this is definitely a must watch.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's a must watch. You said an interesting point. I would put this actually number 2 of the first 4 movies that we've seen. I like this more than Iron Man 2 and more than Incredible Hulk. I thought it was just a more complete story. The action wasn't as good, but yeah, I really liked it, and I thought they did a pretty good job, and it's my favorite Thor movie so far. So,
So far.
What about number 2?
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see in a couple months. I'm right there with you guys. I agree this is a recommend. This is a must-see for any MCU lover. When you look back at this movie, there was a lot of missteps that they could have taken. This was a very difficult movie to integrate into the MCU, integrate into this grounded universe that they had established. And I think they did very well to take this, like you said, Troy, and seed a lot of things organically. This was executed perfectly as far as development of characters, not only the villain, but also the hero.
Yeah.
This is something that we had not gotten in many MCU films outside of Winter Soldier. They're doing a lot better now developing these characters, developing the villains for something later on. I think we're going to see this in Black Panther as well.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. But yeah, the visuals were pretty good. I liked the stuff on Asgard. That was the best stuff in this movie. When we moved to this New Mexico stuff, not so much, not so great. But like you said, the casting on point. Every actor in here I want to see in these roles. I want to see more of them on screen. Even the Warriors 3, give them the right thing to do, they do well with it.
Like eating.
Yes. But overall, this is, like I said, a must-watch for the MCU. I don't see any reason to skip this.
No.
And this establishes Thor. This establishes a good foundation for this character. And hopefully, I'm going to acknowledge right now there are missteps in the Dark World, but hopefully this gives a solid enough foundation that gives us something that we can tie back to in Thor Ragnarok to give a more holistic and complete story for Thor in his trilogy.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just correct myself there. I think I messed up what I said the first time, but just to go in my quick order of MCU stuff, I put Iron Man number 1 at number 1. I'll go Iron Man number 2, and then I'll go Thor, and then I'll go Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
So Incredible Hulk's at the bottom. Sorry. Yeah,
I'd have to put definitely Iron Man up. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
Iron Man 1, yeah.
I bounce around between Iron Man 2 and Thor,
Yeah.
actually, as far as I think if I'm going to say what I would revisit first again, I would probably say Thor, actually.
Cool. Yeah.
Because I really like the story. I really like what they do here with Loki, as I've said numerous times. And then I go Iron Man 2 and then Incredible Hulk.
Nice.
I would actually go Iron Man 1, obviously.
Yeah.
Thor, then Incredible Hulk, and then Iron Man 2.
You really get hate on
you
for
hated that one, eh?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
the bird? Yeah.
Where's my bird?
Where's
My bird.
yeah,
Where's my
no, for
bird?
me, that's the biggest misstep by far.
There's some bad stuff in there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this concludes our discussion of Thor for our MCU retrospective series. We're going to be coming back at you guys early next month with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So this is going to be our first movie that is slightly out of order. Instead of trying to go back and revisit this further on down the line, we're going to bring you these weekend of release reviews for the new MCU movies as they come out and fit them back into this retrospective series. So it's going to be a bit disjointed next month. It's going to be a combination of our normal Nerd Room episode as well as an MCU retrospective episode at the same time, so it's going to be kind of one in the same there. So next month we're going to be talking Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That's going to be actually in a couple weeks, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to bring some of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 discussion into that as well before we actually re-review it here in the Nerd Room MCU retrospective series. But all in all, guys, it's been a fantastic discussion.
Yes.
I always love talking MCU movies. Thor, great movie. Get out there and watch that. Revisit that before going into Thor Ragnarok for sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mirror, mirror.
Meow meow. Anyways, guys, for the Nerd Room MCU retrospective series, I'm Tim.
I'm Troy.
And I'm Sunjay.
And thank you for something with us.
Thank you for entering my nerd room.
What do I say at the end here?
And thank you for lifting my hammer.
Yeah.
We are all worthy, I guess. I don't know.
That works.
And thank you for entering.
My ass.
And thank you for taking this journey with us. Meow meow.
This has been a Nerd Room podcast production. You can find our hosts, Tim and Troy, on Twitter at TheNerdRM and Troy TheBoy87. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nerd Room on iTunes, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search the Nerd Room Podcast. Be sure to head over to StarWarsCommonwealth.com to find other podcasts on the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network, including Talk Star Wars, Generation X-Wing, Tumbling Saber, Rogue Squadron Podcast, and the Skyhopper Podcast. Follow the Star Wars Commonwealth on Twitter at SW Commonwealth and take your first steps into a larger world.